The prisoner's chains rattled against the containment field as Grace approached, her boots echoing through the detention bay of the frontier dawn. The Cravathi warrior, a towering, scaled brute standing nearly 8 feet tall, bared his serrated teeth at her, yellow eyes gleaming with predatory malice. "Human whelp," he snarled, his translator struggling with the guttural undertones. "You dare approach Warlord Thexanar? I have consumed the hearts of 100 warriors. Your soft flesh will tear like." Grace didn't flinch. She simply stood there, data pad in hand, reviewing the interrogation protocols with the calm expression of someone checking a grocery list. At 24 standard years, she was young by military standards, but her eyes held something the Cravathi couldn't quite identify. Something that made his next growl catch slightly in his throat. "Are you finished?" Grace asked, her voice flat and professional. "Because I have 3 questions for you, and then I can get back to my actual job." Thexanar lunged forward, stopped short by the humming energy barrier. "I will tell you nothing, human. When my fleet arrives, they will peel this ship apart, and Grace." A young voice called from the entrance. "Mom said you needed us." 2 small figures bounded into the detention bay, and Thexanar's rant died immediately. The cubs couldn't have been more than 6 and 8 standard years old respectively. A boy and a girl, both with the same dark hair as Grace, though the boy's eyes were a striking blue that must have come from his father. "Liam, Sophie," Grace said, her stern expression softening instantly. "I told you two to wait in the observation room. But we finished our homework." The girl, Sophie, protested, clutching a worn stuffed animal that looked like some earth creature. "And Liam wanted to see the alien." The boy, Liam, stared at Thexanar with unabashed curiosity, stepping closer to the containment field. The Cravathi warlord found himself instinctively taking a step back. There was something fundamentally wrong about these offspring. They showed no fear. None whatsoever. "He's really big," Liam observed, tilting his head. "But his scales look weak near the joints. See, Sophie? Just like in that nature documentary about earth crocodiles. The armor always has gaps." Sophie nodded seriously, studying Thexanar like he was a museum exhibit. "And his claws are worn down. Dad said Cravathi warriors sharpen their claws every day for ritual combat. This one hasn't, which means he's been captured for at least 2 weeks." Grace sighed, making a note on her datapad, which confirms the timeline of the Bellows 4 raid. "Thank you, kids. Now back to the observation room. Both of you." "But Mom, now." The children shuffled toward the exit, but not before Liam turned back and gave Thexanar a cheerful wave. "Bye, Mr. Alien. Hope you cooperate." Mom gets really creative when prisoners don't talk. As the door sealed behind them, Thexanar found his voice again, though it lacked its earlier confidence. You bring younglings to a military vessel? To observe prisoners of war? What kind of demented species? The kind that survives." Grace interrupted, her professional mask back in place. "You want to know why Captain Morrison fears my children, Warlord? It's not because they're warriors. They're 8 and 6 years old." She stepped closer to the field, and for the first time in his decorated military career, Thexanar felt genuine unease. "It's because they've grown up on frontier vessels, in a universe that wants humans dead. By the time Liam was 4, he'd survived 3 hull breaches, 2 boarding actions, and a radiation leak." Sophie learned to read from tactical manuals because picture books don't exist on deep space missions. Grace's voice remained calm, almost conversational. "They analyze threats instinctively now. They spot weaknesses without thinking about it. They've watched their parents prepare for death 100 times and learn not to cry because crying wastes oxygen." She pulled up a holographic display, showing fleet movements. "Your reinforcements? They were ambushed 18 hours ago by the human 4th Fleet. Your invasion of our colonies? Repelled. Your mighty Cravathi Empire has been at war with humans for 6 years, and you're losing." Thexanar's scales rippled with barely suppressed rage. "Impossible. We are the apex predators of—" "You're predators on your own world," Grace corrected. "One world, with one set of evolutionary pressures. Humans? We evolved on a death world. Everything on Earth tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the bacteria, other humans. We didn't become strong because we were apex predators. We became strong because we were prey that refused to die." She gestured toward the door where her children had exited. "Those cubs you saw? They represent something you can't comprehend. Every human child is born into a hostile universe, and we teach them not just to survive, but to analyze, to adapt, to overcome. By the time they're adults, they've inherited 10,000 years of accumulated survival instinct. The warlord said nothing, his predatory confidence evaporating. My children don't fear you because they've already calculated 17 ways to kill you if this containment field fails, Grace continued. They've done the same for every crew member on this ship, for every alien species we've encountered, for every emergency scenario imaginable. Not because I taught them to be paranoid, because they learned that preparation is the only thing that keeps you breathing in space. She turned to leave, then paused. Captain Morrison fears my children because he knows what they represent, the next generation of humanity. Smarter, more adaptable, more resilient than we are. And we're already winning your war. As Grace walked toward the exit, Thexanar found his voice one final time, though it was barely a whisper. What kind of monsters are you raising? Grace glanced back, and for just a moment, Thexanar saw something in her eyes that chilled his warrior's heart. Not cruelty, not hatred, but an absolute, unwavering certainty. Survivors, she said simply. We're raising survivors. And that, warlord, is why humanity will inherit the stars while species like yours fade into history. The door sealed shut, leaving Thexanar alone in his cell, truly understanding for the first time why the Kravathi Empire's greatest military minds were now advocating for peace negotiations. The humans hadn't just adapted to space, they were breeding for it. And their children, those small, curious, seemingly innocent cubs, were already more dangerous than any warrior the Kravathi could produce. Outside the detention bay, Grace found her children waiting with Captain Morrison himself, a grizzled veteran who offered her a knowing smile. Did it work? He asked. Grace nodded. He'll cooperate. They always do once they understand what they're really fighting against. Liam tugged on her sleeve. Can we get ice cream now? You promised. And just like that, the fierce intelligence officer became a mother again, scooping up her son with a laugh. Yes, troublemaker. Ice cream for everyone. As they walked toward the mess hall, Captain Morrison watched them go, thinking, as he often did, that Grace's children weren't the future of humanity, they were the present. And God help any species that underestimated them.